Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast is the Laces Out podcast, our NFL podcast. Week 8 is gone, week 9 to come, sort of round about the halfway through the season. Things are starting to shape up, kind of see which team's which, what's what, and apparently that makes it really difficult to pick who you think's going to win this week. Stay tuned for the nightmare that is trying to pick a winning team this week. Before we get started, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. Big one, the one we like the bestest. That's a word. Share the podcast around. If you've got an NFL fan in your life, send them this podcast. They'll love it. Also, they could enter the competition prize type deal. You too. You could also enter it. Right, let's get started. Here we go. This is CookieCast. Laces out.
Well. Welcome on in, ladies and gents, and welcome back to the CookieCast Podcast Network's Laces Out NFL podcast, brought to you by my good self. And for those of you watching on YouTube, the happy, smiling face of the leader of the CookieCast Podcast Network is, of course, Mr. Andrew Cook. How are we this week, good sir?
Yes, I'm trying to embrace the spookiest of seasons with a Batman. It was unfortunately too warm to lift, other than by the handle, so that was why I wasn't lifting it to start with. But yes, I am fine. How are you?
I cannot complain. I come to you fresh off the back of a weekend filled with delicious, tasty beverages. Not as much American football as I'd normally watch, but I still was able to keep abreast of the scores. So yeah, all in all, a thoroughly decent weekend.
I was saying to somebody that I actually watched more NFL than I would normally this weekend. I watched Red Zone until they turned it off. I was like, yeah, I didn't necessarily know what happened at the end of Red Zone. It was very much like, if you want to keep watching the game, just go and watch the game. You don't need us for that in a roundabout way. And I was like, okay. But I think when they turn Red Zone off here, because it's like through the app and stuff, there's no need to make any changes. It just switches to the game, so that the game just carried on playing. It was like, oh, fair enough. Whereas obviously in America, it's like, go to one of these 9 different networks and try and work out if you can watch the football. Like, that sounds super complicated.
I don't know if it's like a licensing law or something like that. So they're allowed to show Red Zone because it's showing more than one game, like in its entirety. So because they're showing all the games at once, they're not technically breaking sort of broadcasting regulations, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I imagine it's like a fair's fair kind of system, because everyone's getting a fair shot. Like if you're showing a game and they're showing a game and they're showing, obviously you have to put all of them on to get the correct amount of coverage. So nobody can really complain about that, I suppose.
Yeah, I think something we don't obviously like sort of get as a concept over here as well is that even though it's the National Football League, they don't tend to show the games that aren't for the teams in their state, if that makes sense. So say we're always like sort of, it always comes back to check with your local Fox, CBS,
ABC,
ABC,
I mean, that's literally almost word for word what they were saying on
yeah.
Literally, like,
check with your local affiliate.
Rattled off all of these different stations. It was like, oh my word! Can you imagine trying to like click, 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 click? And I was like, yep, that's where the app comes in handy. So yeah, it was useful at that moment just to be able to just carry on watching.
Mm. Well, yes. So yes, whilst I didn't watch as much as I would normally watch on the weekend, I have kept myself abreast of the situation that went down in week 8. So I will waste no further time and I will dive straight into what me and my glamorous co-host predicted last week. So week 8 brought with it 13 matchups, as it was, I believe the phrase was Bye-Mageddon last week in the NFL. You had 6 teams in total on the bye. Oh dear. The Cardinals, the Lions, the Jaguars, the Raiders, the Rams, and the Seahawks all found themselves without a game this weekend. Obviously, people who owned any of those players of those teams in fantasy were scrabbling around trying to field a full-strength team.
Or do what I do and just don't bother. I've got to the point now where it's like I physically cannot make a team out of what I've got from my bench, and going to the waivers isn't going to help me. So do you know what? I think I'd rather take the 0 for however many players than go through the mental Tetris of trying to work out which player to put where, and what if I drop this player and he's good next week, and it's saying he's out now, but will he be out for the rest of the season? And I'm almost glad when someone gets a season-ending injury because it's like, thank God I can get them immediately. Which then starts to make even less sense when you then win in both of your fantasy leagues and go, all right, well, there we go. Apparently, setting a lineup does not depend on whether you win or lose. It's just a, I don't know, arbitrary task at this point in time. So, yes.
I must admit, I do feel obligated at this point to point out that in our shared league, Mr. Cook is, of course, referring to the fact that his team dropped, just wait for it, 140 points as a collective. And Mr. Philip Walls that he was playing against can find himself mighty unfortunate to have been coming up against that, as he scored 107 points and would have won a number of matchups had he been playing against anybody else. So a very unfortunate loss for Mr. Walls this week, but you should be very pleased, Mr. Cook, that you managed to bag 140 points with a guy scoring 0 in your team.
Yes, sir, Bob. And my other league, very similar, apart from the person I was playing against, who I'm not sure they turned up. So I was a bit like, oh, okay. I guess it was just my 1 week to win this season. I am basically the New York Jets of fantasy. So just let that one sink in.
Well, we'll get to that momentarily. So, 13 games in total, which meant 13 points to play for, so to speak, in the predictions. But obviously, the 1 point for the overall week win is what we're really playing for. So, coming second or last, if you want to look at it that way, it seems there's only 2 of us playing.
First runner-up, I believe, is the correct term.
Correct, yeah. First not winner.
The grammatical version of correct answer.
With 8 of 13 selections correct, being let down by... Which ones have we both selected? Being let down by the 49ers not beating the Texans, the Bengals not beating the Jets, and the Falcons not beating the Dolphins, but also being let down by the Vikings not beating the Chargers, and the Cowboys not beating the Broncos. Mr. Paul Williams, with 8 of 13 selections correct, takes the L. Mr. Cook had those first 3, but correctly picked the Chargers to beat the Vikings and the Broncos to beat the Cowboys to get him 10 of 13 selections this week and get him the win that takes the scores to 4 weeks apiece.
Oh. If it's any consolation to you, I lost a potential £13 because the first game of my ACCA did not go the way I predicted. Thank you, Falcons-Dolphins game. And guess what? That wasn't the only one I didn't get right. So if you need to take something away, I lost mighty £13 from not being able to pick a football game to save my life. Obviously, in the prediction situation, that didn't seem to work. But yeah, monetary wise, when money's involved, you can guarantee I will be there to lose it all.
So, like I said, weekly scores, they're level 4 weeks apiece. Overall points, so we're currently up to 121 games played or predicted, as it were. I have 78 of 121 predicted correctly. Mr. Cook has 81 of 121 predicted correctly. So only 40 games dropped. So we're both batting at roughly 2/3, so 66%-ish. I think yours is almost bang on 66%. Mine's slightly lower, but I'd take that at this point during the season. We're 8 weeks in, and we've got 2/3 of the.
It's better than half.
Absolutely, absolutely, it is. So, side bet wise, we went into the week.
Not confident on this one.
Andy was on 16 from 28 possible. I was on 22 from 28 possible. So a gap of 6 innings. Yeah, that's right. I can count. Andy started off by taking the Chiefs to beat the Commanders. It was the last game of the week, but he did correctly choose it. He also had the Bills to beat the Panthers, another one correct, and the Eagles to beat the Giants. However, his 4th and final selection of the week of the 49ers to beat the Texans sadly did not come in and was the only one to let him down. So a very, very respectable 3 of 4 selections correct moves Andy to 19 from a possible 32. Now I had taken the Buccaneers to beat the Saints, the Colts to beat the Titans, and the Patriots to beat the Browns. So I was on for a clean sweep also. And my pick of the Falcons to beat the Dolphins was much, much worse. So I too got 3 of 4 selections correct, moving myself on to 25 from a possible 32. So I maintained the 6-point gap. But obviously it's all still to play for. Several weeks still to go. A lot can change at this point. All that's left from week 8, other than the stats, is our bankers and outsiders bet that we selected. Now, at some point, I'm going to have to step up and strap on my boy pants and take some responsibility for letting the side down here, because over the past couple of weeks, we've only got a couple of things correct. One thing that we have certainly been getting correct over at least the past 3 weeks is Mr. Andrew Cook's outsider, as I don't think he's picked the wrong outsider for 4 weeks now. His outsider this week was inspired, to say the least, as he had the New York Jets at 11-4 to beat the Cincinnati Bengals. Big old tick right there. And his banker at a 1-5 Buffalo Bills to beat the Carolina Panthers. Another big tick. It goes off the rails somewhat here. My banker of the 8-11 San Francisco 49ers crushed by the Houston Texans, and my rank outsider 5-4 shot of the Dallas Cowboys to beat the Denver Broncos never really got off the ground. So sadly, we did not win £16.49. Did not come into our collective skyrocket. We just have to wait and see whether Week 9's bankers and outsiders will come to fruition and will net us some cash for that postseason trip to Vegas, like we have discussed. That's all of Week 8's admin done. It just takes us to the Week 8 stats that have been provided by our usual suspects. Over to you, Mr. Cook.
The stats are a little bit. I made the decision to send you your half, and as I sent them, I went, "Hang on a minute." And then when I look back, I was like, "Oh, your first stat is knee deep in my last couple." I was like, "That's not gonna flow overly well." I could have. Anyway, you'll see what I mean in a minute. Yes, the stats mistress was a flap, a flustered, because the words, "When am I going to do the stats?" on a very, very busy day for the stats mistress. And I was a bit in that camp of, I don't know. However, at 17:02 today, the inbox was furnished with NFL Week 8 stats for the 2025 season. Number 1, you know how to start a stat. You know how it comes in strong. Congratulations to the New York Jets, who became the final team to notch a win this season while exiting a path that was carrying them toward the first 0-17 record in NFL history. The New York Jets and rookie head coach Aaron Glenn staged quite a comeback to beat the Cincinnati Bengals 39-38 for win number 1, overcoming a 15-point deficit entering the fourth quarter while scoring 23 in the final period, in which miraculously turned out to be the best game of an otherwise unremarkable Sunday slate. Staying with the Jets, and what a nice dose of redemption for Jets quarterback Justin Fields, who outdueled veteran and former Jet Joe Flacco to get his first win in green. And just days after being shredded by owner Woody Johnson amid the team's sorry start, Fields took the high road in the aftermath of Johnson's verbal vomit and remained there while basking in Sunday's victory. Number 3, more Jets, but we're moving into other teams now. 3 teams, Jets, Eagles, Bills, rushed for at least 245 yards Sunday, a benchmark no club had hit this season prior to week 8. 4, despite an additional layer of drama surrounding quarterback Lamar Jackson's injured hamstring, Baltimore broke back into the win column Sunday, the only team from the AFC North that won in week 8 incidentally. With a revived defense and a new temporary quarterback, Tyler Snoop Huntley ended the Bears' winning streak at 4 games. The big question now is whether the Ravens take a chance by playing Jackson, a South Florida native, this Thursday night at Miami, or basically give him another week to get healthy. I made a comment about this situation when, at the end of the game, I saw Lamar Jackson on the sideline cheering and giving it big whoops. And I turned to the stats mistress and said, I'd maybe not be celebrating that win too much as a quarterback who has not been doing too well this season, because the eyes of the coaching staff and the owners may be looking elsewhere when you put in a quarterback who does get you a win. So maybe another week to rest might be on the cards there. Number 5, the reigning MVP Buffalo Bills quarterback Josh Allen posted the 46th game of his 8-year career in which he both passed and ran at least one touchdown, an NFL record. Allen established the mark in Charlotte, formerly the home of former league MVP Cam Newton, with whom he'd been tied. Yeah, Allen was a bit incidental Sunday when the Bills got right, ending a 2-game slide by putting a 40-9 beatdown on the Bryce Young West Carolina Panthers, who had won 3 straight. Buffalo running back James Cook powered the Bills with the first 200-yard rushing game, 216, of his career. 6, and my final, Cook and his brother Delvin are the only siblings in league history with 200-yard rushing games. And boy, don't you just wish you had them on your fantasy team. Over to you for some more delicious stats.
Very, very nice indeed. One thing I will just say, I can't remember where I'd say. Well, it was on Insta, I think, but it was that apparently some guy plays in a league where they have this insane rule that if someone rushes for over 200 yards, it gives them 1,000-point bonus in their fantasy league. So obviously he had James Cook on his standard roster, and he checked the box score, and he was winning by like 1,085 points or something like that. So it's like,
how do we apply that to our league? Because can we get that in before the end of the season? That would be fantastic.
I'll see what I can do. I'll see if I can retrospectively add it and stuff. Yes, to continue on the Bills related news. Furthermore, Allen could be passing league MVP honours, and Buffalo could be passing the AFC East throne to Drake May and the first place Patriots, respectively. May had another big day as the Pats won 32-13, extending his somewhat arbitrary accomplishment by becoming the 5th quarterback in NFL history to post at least 7 straight games of at least 200 passing yards and a passer rating of at least 100. It was all the more impressive given that Myles Garrett relentlessly bedeviled May, who suffered a career-high 6 sacks in total. Speaking of Myles Garrett, the Cleveland Browns defensive end achieved 5 sacks, all on his own, a career high for the 2023 Defensive Player of the Year in Sunday's loss to the New England Patriots. Aside from trading Flacco to the Bengals, the Browns don't figure to have much of an influence on the AFC North moving forward, But shout out to Garrett, who had the 20th game with at least 5 individual sacks in league annals, whilst pushing his career total to 112 and a half, surpassing the late great Hall of Famer Reggie White for the most by a player yet to reach his 30th birthday. I'll tell you something, I don't think it was on Red Zone, or it might have been on, but I didn't see it because I wasn't back in time for the early kickoffs. To say that he recorded 5 sacks, Myles Garrett was paced off on the sidelines on multiple occasions. So I would say
there was a point they showed where somebody was having to calm him down on the sidelines, and it was like,
he was not a happy man. I think it's probably not a stretch to suggest that if you're a Cleveland Browns fan, enjoy Myles Garrett for this season whilst you can, because I would be very surprised if he's still there next. I know he's only just signed an extension, but I would be surprised if there was a no trade clause, or if there was a trade clause inserted into the contract, because I don't think he's going to want to waste many more years where he's got no chance of getting to a Super Bowl.
No.
Eagles running back Saquon Barkley hadn't had a 20-yard run all season before bolting on a 65-yard touchdown run on Sunday's second play from scrimmage. Without a 100-yard day all season entering Sunday, Barkley finished with 150 against the Giants, despite exiting early with a groin injury he didn't deem serious. Fortunately for him, the Eagles don't play again until week 10. And fortunately for the Eagles, they acquired running back 2 Tank Bigsby earlier this season, and he rushed for 104 yards in relief of Barkley, making him the first Philly teammates in 12 years to crack the rushing century total in the same game. Yes, that is. I mean, it's just sort of typical that he goes all season without having a big game, and then cracks one off against the team that let him go.
Yep.
Are the Indianapolis Colts the best team in football? Their league best 7-1 record suggests as much after they pummeled the Tennessee Titans 38-14 to remain atop the AFC. India scored at least 29 points in all but one game this season, and has yet to allow 29. Still, you'd like to see them beat a strong team, and the Colts caught the Chargers at less than full strength and needed a special teams penalty to beat Denver week 2. Staying with the Colts, is Colts running back Jonathan Taylor the best player in football? It might be a more compelling question. He began Sunday with the most rushing yards, 697, and touchdowns, 11, in the league, before running over Tennessee for 153 yards on just 12 carries. That's mental. And 3 more scores, one of which was a receiving touchdown. At this rate, and without an obvious MVP QB to date, Taylor should remain squarely at the centre of that discussion.
I meant to double check this, but I'm pretty sure in that game, he had a touchdown chalked off as well.
Yeah, I think I'd heard about something about that. So I think at one point he was tied with Amon-Ra St. Brown as the leading touchdown scorers for the season, but I think he's way, way past him now. But that was his 4th game this season with 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Possibly his 5th.
Yeah.
The guy's an absolute beast. He's
just a machine. I just wish I had him for my fun. Tee-hee.
And finally, the Kansas City Chiefs, despite their pedestrian 4-3 record at the moment, are basically back to being whole and back to being the team to beat. However, I did hear a stat that they are yet to have a 100-yard receiver in any game this season through 8 weeks, which is odd for them. They have, however, had I think Hollywood Brown had 99 yards in the first game, and this week just passed, Travis Kelce had 99 as well. So that annoying thing that they couldn't just get that 1 extra yard each, and then this thing would have all gone away. So there you have it. That is your week 8 stats. And week 8, has now had a nice little bow put on it, and we've tied it up and made it go away forever.
Forever and ever. It is now in the history books. Very much so. The league love the history books. They like to comment on them every single game.
First time ever.
Something that I don't know if you saw, because we might take a break soon. And it seems to be falling recently that last week part one and next week in part two, so it falls quite well. So we'll have a little interlude. Saw a little trailer today. The best bit of the trailer was the bit at the end when they said, in conjunction, and it was hands down 20% of the trailer. But I believe the December 8th game is going to be the second game that is going to be shown in Monster Vision, in conjunction with Disney, ESPN, and I'm pretty sure like 3 other companies. Basically, the Monsters Inc. Characters are going to be live. Like the game is going to be shown as a monster football game live. Obviously, they've done this before with like the Nickelodeon stuff. Obviously, ESPN is owned by Disney, so that kind of it makes sense to sort of that trickle down sort of thing. Apparently, there's going to be a halftime Mike Wazowski versus Sully Scream canister collection thing. The trailer looked quite interesting. It's the Chargers somebody game. I want to say
I will have a look.
Raiders maybe. And I was like, I know the NFL does a lot around trying to get that younger audience, because very much like some less savory industries of the past, if you hook them young, then they'll be life. Eagles, Chargers, that was it. I knew the Chargers was one of them. So yeah, if you hook them young, if you get a child NFL fan, they are going to take that with them throughout their lives. They're never, they might hitch themselves to the wrong team, like the poor Jets fan that was interviewed last week that we mentioned last time, who became an internet superstar just by going, "Oh, fucking hate this team." So yeah, you might hitch yourself to the wrong horse, but you will be a lifelong fan, and lifelong fans generate a lot of money. So yeah, I know that the NFL does a lot around trying to get kids to watch, kids involved. If I'm honest, I did think, I wonder if kids might want to watch that, because American football in our house is a dirty word where my children are concerned. But I imagine if I tell them that, Mike and Sully are going to be playing the game, it's going to be absolutely. So I'd be interested to see what would happen the week after. So yeah, but I thought it was a cool little thing. They've done like I say, a full blown trailer and stuff. So that was fun. As you were saying, that is last week done and dusted. We'll take a smidge, smattering, a sprinkle of break, come back and predict some football. Join us momentarily when we will be right back.
So like we said, week 8, neatly bowed up, finished off, put back in the cupboard for another year. But it's okay, ladies and gentlemen, because week 9 is fast approaching over that horizon. Now, week 9 brings with it 14 games, 2 less teams on bye this week. So the bye teams are the Cleveland Browns and it couldn't come a moment too soon.
Probably for the
The
best.
The New York Jets probably thinking, we've just started winning games. Don't put us on bye now.
We had a win.
The Philadelphia Eagles, who, as we covered in the stats, are probably quite happy because it gives Saquon another week off to get healthy. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, doesn't really matter. They're going to win the NFC South, probably with about 4 games to spare anyway. So you could just give them a bye week now and then give them a bye week in week 17 through 18 and then still win the division. So
give Baker the opportunity to learn how to smile. So angry.
Well, it's that full potato he keeps on his shoulder, remember?
Carrying that sack around with him it's going to take its toll after a while.
Yes. His back obviously also hurts from carrying the hopes and dreams of the entire Tampa area. So, 14 games to predict. I have predictions for both myself and Mr. Andrew Cook live in the book. On a side note, if you're watching the podcast, listening to the podcast, thinking, I could do much better than these two goobers, why don't you put your money where your mouth is? Why don't you send us some predictions into the CookieCast mailbox ahead of each of the weeks, and we will add them to the book, and we'll see if you have got what it takes.
Standing offer. Send us your predictions. We'll send you a prize. Beat us. I have the finest NFL-related prize that you could possibly hope for. You will receive it for free. I won't even charge you the postage. I'll take the postage out of my own pocket, and I'll provide fantastic NFL prize.
I mean, if that's not enticing, I don't really know what it is. So, week 9 starts with the Thursday Night Football, and we actually discussed it again in the stats. It is the Ravens at the Miami Dolphins. Now, as Mr. Cook covered in the stats, the Ravens went into week 8 off the back of their week 7 bye, and unsure if Lamar Jackson was going to be healthy enough to start the game. We now know that that wasn't the case, so he has had another week to recover. The fact that they managed to get themselves back in the win column by beating the Chicago Bears in week 8 does relieve a little bit of the pressure in that they now find themselves only 2 games back on the Pittsburgh Steelers atop the AFC North. But you do wonder if this is a case where they think they can afford to give Lamar Jackson another week, if they think that Tyler Huntley is good enough to carry the offense, or do they try and bring him back in and say,
personally, if it was me, I'd do it. I'd have Lamar suited up, but on the sidelines, and I'd send the new guy in and just say, let's just get a couple of snaps off, see what it feels like, see how it looks, and Lamar's there if needed.
It's not a terrible idea, like you say. You can always have him suit up for the game.
Yeah,
but have him as the designated backup. It's not a terrible idea. But regardless of whether it's Tyler Huntley or if it's Lamar Jackson, myself and Mr. Cook think the outcome will still be the same. We have both gone for a Baltimore Ravens victory in this one. We move to the Sunday 6 p.m. slate of games, and we are back to 6 p.m. as the clocks will have been adjusted in America to match up with the clocks over here in the United Kingdom. And the first of our 6 p.m. games sees the Chicago Bears taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. And it is, ladies and gentlemen, our first difference of opinion of the week. I have gone with the Chicago Bears to get the win here. Mr. Cook has taken the Cincinnati Bengals. One of us will be correct. One of us will be incorrect. Let's wait and see. We carry on with the Minnesota Vikings taking on the Detroit Lions. And the Minnesota Vikings will go into this one knowing that they will have to start J.J. McCarthy at quarterback, as Carson Wentz is donezo, out for the remainder of the season. I believe he's having shoulder surgery, I think they said. So, no more Carson Wentz for the Minnesota Vikings. Again, I think you could be playing Carson Wentz, J.J. McCarthy, the reanimated corpse of Bart Starr. You could give the Vikings any quarterback they wanted in this game. The Lions are still winning it, I think. That is myself and Mr. Cook's consensus opinion. The Lions win. We have the Carolina Panthers taking on the Green Bay Packers in Green Bay. Surprise, surprise. Packers wins across the board. Denver Broncos at the Houston Texans. Despite the Texans' very, very promising win against the 49ers last time out, myself and Mr. Cook have both gone with the Broncos to get the win here. Next up, we have the Atlanta Falcons at the New England Patriots, and we've both gone for the Patriots to the win. Next up, San Francisco 49ers at the New York Giants, a long West Coast to East Coast trip for San Francisco, but we don't think it's going to affect them. We've both gone for a 49ers win. Next up, we have the top of the AFC standings, Indianapolis Colts at the Pittsburgh Steelers. And it's our next and final difference of opinion game. Andy has taken the 7-1 Colts. I have taken the Steelers in this one just because it's one of those games. The Colts are probably massive favourites. They should really be the favourite. I hadn't really considered the fact that Jonathan Taylor's probably going to rush for about 800 yards in the game. But I don't know, there's just something about this. The fact that the Steelers lost against Green Bay last week, and Aaron Rodgers didn't get the chance to finish off the win against all 32 teams. I imagine he will be more than unhappy about that. Let's put it that way. And I think there's a distinct possibility that he might want to channel that into making sure that they have a get-right game, shall we say. So that's why I've gone with the Steelers over the Colts. I'm probably going to be wrong, but in my head, it made a lot of sense. Let's wait. And the last of our 6 p.m. slate of games sees the Los Angeles Chargers travelling to Tennessee to take on the Titans, and we've both gone with the Chargers in that one. No great surprises. They should win that one comfortably. The 9:05 and 9:25 slate of games sees the New Orleans Saints travelling to Los Angeles to take on the Rams. We've both taken the Rams. The Jacksonville Jaguars going to the desert to take on the Las Vegas Raiders. We've both gone for the Jags. Game of the weekend. The Kansas City Chiefs going to Buffalo to take on the Bills. Despite the Chiefs looking very, very strong at the moment, both myself and Mr. Cook have gone with the Bills to get the win. Sunday night football sees the Seattle Seahawks taking on the Washington Commanders. Obviously, Washington will go into this one still not knowing whether Jaden Daniels is right to recommence as the starting quarterback. So they may be rolling with Marcus Mariota for another week. Either way, the Seahawks are probably playing better than the Commanders. Well, there's no maybe about it. They certainly are. Seahawks playing better than the Commanders at the moment, and we both reflected that with the fact that we think the Seahawks will get the win. And the Monday Night Football sees the Arizona Cardinals, fresh off their bye, taking on the Dallas Cowboys in Arlington, Texas. Now, despite the Cardinals having a rest, both myself and Mr. Cook have gone with the Cowboys to get the win in the Monday night game. So there you have it. 14 games predicted. Only 2 where we've had a difference of opinion. That is the Bears-Bengals and Steelers-Colts game. So hopefully if all things go correctly, we should have a winner one way or another. We move to the side bet. Like we said, Mr. Cook finds himself 6 points behind. So until that gap is closed or made non-existent, he will have the opportunity to either pick first or to ask me to select first in that particular challenge.
So here was my thinking for this week. Part of me wants you to go first so that I can take two. Because here's my issue. I have been through these games top to bottom, T to B. And honestly, I don't like any of these matchups. There are two games that I've looked at and gone, I think I can take, like, I can pick those games and say they're, nailed on. But this week's picking of is this team, I have struggled. For example, the one I've got on the screen right now is the Arizona Cardinals versus the Dallas Cowboys. I had to go with the Cowboys. I didn't feel comfortable. Let's go back to last week, shall we? It's a real bad look when you bench your starting quarterback because worst game of the season. Now, obviously, you've got that situation of it's at home and the Cardinals aren't doing all that well. But I didn't feel good about making that pick. So I had considered allowing you to take the first pick. However, I was then put off by going, but you'll take one of those two games and put me in a worse position. Part of me thought about flipping a coin and letting fate decide. However, I think I will just go with, I would say, the Los Angeles Rams to beat the New Orleans Saints as my first pick because, like I say, it's one of the few games this week that I'm like, I think that's going to go that way. There is one other game I'm like, I think it's going to go that way. Outside of that, it's not going to be a fun side bet this week. However, it's over to you with the difficult task of picking a series of games.
Whilst I agree that I think there are some absolute stinkers there, where it's 50-50 at best, I do think there are 3, maybe 4, where the result should, in theory, be fairly sort of straightforward. So the Rams is definitely the first. That is the number 1 draft pick. Let's not be around the bush here. The Rams at home against the Saints.
Yeah.
Oh dear. The pick 6 that Spencer Rattler threw straight at the Buccaneers defensive lineman was one of the worst picks I think I've ever seen.
That was a criminal offence.
It literally looked like it was a small boy playing in a men's league. The size difference between Spencer Rattler and the D-line. Oh, it was bad.
Yeah.
So, my first of the 2 selections will be to take the Green Bay Packers to beat the Carolina Panthers. And
that is interesting to me because that is A, not the other game I was referring to, and B, I'm looking at that game as, Packers, great, Panthers, shit, etc., etc. 96% of people would agree with you. That game for me has got wildcard written all over it. I have a horrible feeling about that game. I have the worst feeling about that game. So much so that the fact that you've taken it off the board soothes me somewhat because it means it's not there for me to make the mistake of going, I think I've got it. So, yeah.
It's a good point. I like it. I will follow up my Green Bay Packers to beat the Carolina Panthers pick by, I know it's a divisional game. Divisional games can sometimes get weird, but I will take the Detroit Lions to beat the Minnesota Vikings.
That was the other one. Well,
Over to you. I think there's at least a couple on there that you can feel fairly confident with.
Yes, but I'm looking at one right here. It makes the most sense. It's absolutely the game to pick. 98% of people would agree. However, it involves a team that has shafted me more times this season than Sky Bet.
I don't even need to ask. So at this point, I don't even need you to tell me the actual team. I just need to ask, is it a team supported by a fellow member of the Cookie Cast podcast brethren?
Yeah, it is.
Did they choose an absolutely horrendous uniform choice 2 weeks ago of all yellow?
The Savannah Bananas.
Oh my God. Yes, just to clarify that, Andy's second pick in the side bet choice is, of course, the Los Angeles Chargers to beat the Tennessee Titans. I think you can feel fairly confident with that one. The Titans are just god awful.
I mean, they're 1-7. Let's face it. At this point in time, they have the same record as the Jets. So I wanna take that. Oh, let's get involved in that game. Does it reek of head injury to take the Broncos to beat the Texans?
I don't think so. That was one of the other ones that I was suggesting would be a
6-2 versus 3-4. The numbers there, it's on paper. The biggest problem at this moment in time is all I am seeing when people talk about the Denver Broncos is the question, when do we think their luck's going to run out? And the other question of, at the point in time that they face a half-decent team, are we going to see their next loss? However, the possibility of it being this game is probably lower, so I will take the Broncos to beat the Texans, please.
It's a very nice pick. It is certainly where I would have been going. My third pick, it's not often I do this, but I will take the San Francisco 49ers.
Oh, my word.
To beat the New York Giants. I think that injury to Scatterboo is
the end of the Giants season. Absolutely.
Well, I think it's going to affect the Giants more than they realise.
Yeah, it's absolutely the end of their season. That injury being what it was, any momentum that team had, any chance that team had, is just gone now. They are probably going to lose the majority of their games at this point in time.
One thing I did see was that just to sort of lean into the whole Scatterboo is an absolute mentalist sort of narrative, was the fact that apparently when he was on the floor, he was trying to get his teammates to help him stand up, and they were like, "Mate, your foot's not even like there's question marks
facing the wrong way, mate."
There's question marks as to whether it's actually attached to your leg at this point.
Yeah, and he was like, "No,
lie there.
Fine, I can do it."
The guy is an absolute monster. Yeah. Right, so I need to somehow pick a last team to win a game out of this dreck. I mean, I could go there. It makes sense. They're in good form and they're at home. Yeah, why not? I will take the New England Patriots to beat the Atlanta Falcons in New England.
I listened to a podcast that is hosted by a die-hard 50-year fan of the New England Patriots. You should hear it now that they're seemingly back in form. Oh, we're going all the way. We're going to do it. This guy's great. That guy's great. Oh, yeah, we're back in it. Yeah, we're definitely in the playoff picture. This could be. And I'm like, go away.
Right. Over to you to wrap it up, Squire.
If I'm honest, I think I already know my final pick. I'm just surveying the real estate. I ain't touching that one with anybody's or that one. That one's gone. 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 That part of me is surprised that neither of us went for it, but because we're on different sides of the fence, I imagine that's why it's still there. That has gone. That's an option, but it's also a wild card. So it brings me to. I feel like it's a while since I've said it, but I'll take the Seattle Seahawks to beat the Washington Commanders. It's close numbers wise. 3-5 Commanders, 5-2 Seahawks. Seattle's playing well. I have pointed out in the past that the Seahawks seem to be doing the let's just sneak under the radar as much as we possibly can before making any kind of play. If we can, win a game this week, that's great. Let's move on. It seems to be working for them. Do I think that we're going to see the Seahawks in the playoffs? Probably not. I don't see them as a playoff team at this point in time, but I do see them going up against a team like the Commanders, who, like we've already discussed, a little bit of disarray at the moment, a little uncertainty. I always feel when you've got a team that, like as a team, that doesn't know who's going to be at the tip of the spear each week. There's just that little bit of, well, are we going to be playing? Am I going to get, am I going to get my chance? There unfortunately is a fair amount of ego in the football, so it's probably a little bit of unrest there. And I just think Seahawks are capable of taking not necessarily the easiest win, but taking a win here. So, yeah, I feel all right with that.
So, for clarification, Andy's 4 teams. He has the Los Angeles Rams at home to the New Orleans Saints, the Los Angeles Chargers at the Tennessee Titans, the Denver Broncos at the Houston Texans, and the Seattle Seahawks at the Washington Commanders. That is 3 road teams, 1 team at home. I have the Green Bay Packers at home to the Carolina Panthers, the Detroit Lions at home to the Minnesota Vikings, the San Francisco 49ers at the New York Giants, and the New England Patriots at home to the Atlanta Falcons. I've gone for 3 home teams and just the 1 road team. Now, all that's left is just to go through our bankers and our outsiders pick for the week. It was my honour and privilege to go first this time. So for my banker, I did in fact pick the last game that was picked in the side bet. I went with the 1-2 Seattle Seahawks to beat the Washington Commanders. And my outsider pick was the 11-8 Pittsburgh Steelers at home to the Indianapolis Colts. Andy's banker was the 1-10 Los Angeles Rams to beat the New Orleans Saints at home. That's safe. I mean, I would imagine at some point the points for that one is sizable. And Andy's outsider, which we already know means it's already come in, it's already won, it's already that part of the parlay is already banked and in the book, is the 5-4 New York Giants at home to the San Francisco 49ers. Now, should the Steelers, Giants, Rams, and Seahawks all win, we will net ourselves a thrilling £8.82. That is what we will win should our bet come in and be successful. Will we be successful? Well, you'll just have to tune back in next week to find out. That brings us to the end of yet another week's NFL podcasting from us here at the CookieCast Podcast Network. So all that's left for me to say is thank you to all of you wonderful people for listening, watching, tuning in, and of course a big thank you to my co-host Mr. Andrew Cook for joining me to go through the details of the National Football League. Come back in roughly 7 days' time where we'll go through Week 9 and we'll look ahead to Week 10. But just before we go, if you're new around here, if this is your first time tuning in, obviously, thank you very much. But it's not just American football that we cover here at the Podcast Network. We have a weekly football podcast discussing the ins and outs, ups and downs of Middlesbrough, Nottingham Forest and Hull, teams that myself, Mr. Matthew Moore and Mr. Stuart Woodmansey support respectively. We have a weekly, certainly throughout the season, a weekly Formula One podcast where they go through the details of all of the races, what's going on, what's happening, what's shaking. If wrestling's your bag, we have a monthly wrestling podcast where we go through the details of each of the premium live events that are upcoming. And we also give you some news and the movers and shakers in the wrestling world. And then, of course, Mr. Cook has his Darkest Timeline podcast. Just a chance for him to get a few things off his chest each week, let you know what he's thinking. All of those available at the same place you've downloaded this very podcast. Thank you. As always, we will see you in a week's time. Tatty, bye. For now.
So there you go. What do you think's that? Another one done, another one gone. Big thank you for watching, big thank you for listening, big thank you for being here. Like I've said, if you do want to get involved, drop us a line with your predictions. We'll add them to the book. And you'll get a prize. Can't say further than that. And it's free. What's free these days? Tell you what else is free. Like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. Leave a comment where you can leave a comment. And check out the website. If you do want to enter any of our competitions, go to the website, click that link, the social media version, or even easier, click the email button. That is it for this one. Until next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to CookieCast.